Chairman Yem.
Here. Approval of the minutes for July 8th. We did not have a meeting in August.
I so agree.
You so move?
Yeah, we accept the minutes.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Anybody have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Voice vote. You're shaking your head.
Angie and I don't vote today.
I was just making sure I can't vote today, right? I'm just double checking.
Correct. You're correct.
We were double checking. We're thinking the same thing.
All right, citizen input. We have one student from Charter High School. I tried to persuade her to come up and talk. She's ignoring me now.
And she is, more and more.
New business. We have none listed, old business, none listed. This meeting basically was just a quick catch-up because we don't really have anything pending. And unless Mr. O'Connor suggests otherwise, we probably won't have anything until after the election, would be my guess. So we'll put in question, actually, whether we even need a meeting next month. So right now, there's nothing really pending. So we will move on to Recreation Director's matters.
I just wanted to say that special thank you to Judy Jones and for all who came to the junior staff recognition that happened in early August. Thank you. We recognized maybe 14
I've
kids.
seen a lot in the high school, and they've stayed.
Mm-hmm. And really nice group of people, nice group of kids. Really appreciated them, and we had a really good group, I think, this year. So, Judy, thank you, and all that attended.
And Mr. O'Connor, thank you for attending.
Yep. Enjoy it. The second thing was the Aerial Annex Circus. I'll let Patty let you know a little bit about that.
Well, we had record crowds again, and tons of kids, and everything went well. It was very successful, very entertaining. That's about it.
Well, I can add to that. There were two things that were done that really took me. The first was the number of youngsters that are volunteering in the department. A number of them, their moms performed with them, and their moms have been there 20, 25 years ago.
That's right.
And a couple of the moms, they were right there performing with their kids.
Yep.
So it was nice to see mother and daughter in a number of cases.
I agree.
So that made the little girl feel really important that, hey, mom is right here.
Yep.
And the young lady that won the Key Award, what was her name?
Justine
Yeah. Higgins.
She was just the cutest thing. Sometime maybe when we meet again on the 21st of December, I'll get to meet her.
Ah, that sounds good.
She was a marvelous little lady, and she got the Key Award for the year. She had a big smile on her face, and it's something that'll be with her for the rest of her life. She'll have it to hang right on the wall.
You're right about that. And that having to meet a scary big man. Go ahead.
I'm glad you brought up the 21st of December. I probably should tell you guys now. The Christmas drama will be the 20th of December, not the 21st.
Oh, you're going to move back a day.
Yeah,
Right.
Crystal, the manager of the theater, has moved on to another job, and something opened up where we could get in there a day earlier, so we're going to have the show on Saturday instead of Sunday.
All right.
Just so you guys know now.
The Snowflake Ball is at the community center just the Sunday before, so it's still going to work out perfect.
Yep.
Patty, do you break even on that show?
Yes.
Or do you make money?
Break even. Yeah, the bottom line is break even. One of the things that we had when we started doing budget adjustments was to make sure that those programs are being sponsored and paid for.
Yes.
So the answer is yes.
And we utilize our volunteers.
They have some serious volunteers for that event now. A lot of parents of the gymnastics kids and the performing arts kids are now helping out with everything from costumes to you name
Cleaning
it,
up.
cleaning, everything. We had really good support for that.
Eagle Scout.
Eagle Scouts. Met with a couple Eagle Scouts this weekend, and it looks like we are going to have a couple projects moving forward in the fall, one being the Leisure Square, painting of a Leisure Square, finish up some painting of Leisure Square, and the other one is to help us with Bob Summers' baseball field.
But just clean it up.
Everything from cleaning up to maybe doing some fence work to possibly helping the field.
Is there interest in anybody using it?
Right now, we've been, Jim asked the same question, I think, this morning, and at this point, we've only had a few people go out there and use it. I'm hoping that this Eagle Scout program, this idea, and getting a little publicity out for it will actually bring more people in just to get them out there.
Okay, Halloween parade.
Halloween parade is on October 25th, and I know Gabby's already started sending out information for that. We know we have our sponsor for that already, and we're looking forward to that day because that usually means it's usually around that time is when we get our first cold front.
What's the time of the parade?
It starts at 10. The parade starts at 10. We start lining everybody up at 9:30. And it's going to be the shortened version again
Right.
from the Heritage Center
Okay.
Right around on,
to the community center.
yep.
So do you need judges?
I'm sure, yes.
I'll be glad to volunteer if you tell me.
Great.
Okay.
I will let her
Anybody
know.
else want to be a judge?
What are you looking at me for?
You asked.
I thought you were volunteering.
I'm trying to help you.
There you go.
What's the date on that again?
October 25th.
October 25th.
I'm doing a football game the night before, I know that.
Gonna sleep in?
If I can, I don't know how to do it.
Is Gabby in charge of that again?
Yes.
Okay, then we move to chairman's matters. Actually, I have a question, Mr. O'Connor, about Mr. Winger's letter, if you can update us to the
Dodgertown.
county commission regarding Dodgertown.
Removing the restrictions. Had a meeting last Friday between the Public Works directors, and what they have indicated that they would like in exchange for removing those seems very reasonable to us. A lot of it is easements and right-of-ways along Aviation Boulevard. One of the exceptions is 43rd. We have a park area there that's landscaped and has a well, and it also provides access for some of the businesses right there at 60 and 43rd. And we have been hesitant about transferring that to the county in order to preserve the access because some of the designs that we've seen would limit the access there. But the county's assured us if we would just transfer or call that right away, then we would have some assurances that we'd still have access for those businesses to the intersection. So the preliminary discussions that took place on Friday appear to be something very reasonable for us, and that there is one other item, and it's a drainage easement that goes through the golf course property. We would retain that where the county needs it for some of the ball fields out in that area. So, but it does not really interfere and would be big chunks that are left. So there's about 32 acres, and that we would try to market.
Is the Charles Park property included in this?
No, it is not. We did not try to broach that again because that's a request from us. And at this stage of the game, what they've been asking for is for us to give them stuff. We don't mind throwing the Charles Park out there again if we're still.
Well, because that was included in that 43rd Avenue.
That is correct. It was, but we entered these discussions on Friday. What do you want in order to get and the only goal we had was to remove the restrictions off of the property.
So we ever going to get the transfer of the easement on the Charles Park?
Actually, it's not an easement, it's right away. From all indications, the answer was no. The last time I heard from the county administrator, they had appraised the value of the property, and it was relatively high. And I think he was using it for commercial or industrial appraisals or something. But it was nowhere close to anything that we would be interested in paying for.
Yeah, I think it's the entity itself is really no use by anybody other than
That is
city.
correct. And the irony is it's also outside the city.
So has somebody expressed interest in buying the golf course?
No, they haven't. We've expressed interest in selling the course. We have a debt service of somewhere in the neighborhood of $265,000 a year, and the city council's position is if we could remove that debt service, sell the property, and at least reduce that debt service, we could put that money back into things like stormwater projects, because we still have several of those projects that we need to work on in order to keep addressing the lagoon issues.
Any other questions for Mr. O'Connor? You got a wide open shot. Okay, moving on. Members' matters.
You want to talk about the VBLA report?
It's not on here, but if you want to talk about it, go ahead.
But we all got one. No, it's just, I was excited to see the $30,000 increase in the budget so they can add more lifeguard time.
Yeah, what they
Yeah.
did was they designated, the idea was that the council basically asked Jim and myself to look at having, they put $30,000 back in, and really the bottom line is to extend the hours of the Humiston. That's it, cut and dry. I mean, really, straight up, part-time, overtime, period. Uniforms, and it's a small amount for uniforms. It's 30.
Speaking of Humiston, I don't know if you've been reading about the church that's talking about moving in over there at the corner of
Anglican Church.
Ocean Drive and Easter Lily or something right around in that neighborhood there by the big yellow commercial building. And they don't have enough parking, and so they're asking all of the local businesses there to donate their parking for Sunday morning. I was just wondering, what kind of an impact that's going to have on Art in the Park.
I'll let Jim talk about the parking a little bit, I guess.
The impact on the park, did you say?
Art in the
Humiston
Park,
Art in
which
the
is a
Park.
Sunday morning event.
I'm
during
not sure. The answer to your question is we really have not looked at it, what that impact would be, because they have to have off-street parking. And
Off-street parking.
i.e., that's why they're going around to the businesses and asking for surface parking that's in the general area that would be used in that vicinity. So I'm not sure it would have that much of an impact. The church
I can't figure out exactly which building they're in. Is it behind
the church? Actually, I think it's a vacant lot. It's one lot off of Ocean Drive, and it's a relatively small area, and so I'm not sure what size church would actually go in there, and we haven't seen any real planning as to what the number of pews, because that's going to dictate where their parking requirements will be.
The parking lot behind the bank there, the public parking there, that wouldn't be accessible to them on Sunday
Now,
mornings.
they get some credit for public, but it's a relatively small amount, and so
How would you control that?
you
How
know.
Right. Because there's like 25 artist vehicles, and then all the people that are coming to Art in the Park and all the people that are coming to the beach.
The only way is that if we took it in the park and they use that park similar to what the farmers market does, and you close off the parking lot just to that special event.
No way. They designed Humiston Park for us.
Yeah.
That walkway.
Yeah.
You know.
But like the farmers market, they put up signs. We don't. They put up signs the night before saying that the parking lot is closed, because at one time the people used to stay overnight. But now the farmers market's moved over to Humiston Park. Now when the
Right.
season starts again, they'll go back over to the parking facility. But maybe as that moves farther along, they could still have the art in the park and then reserve a portion of that parking lot for parking, if that's what is the issue. I'm just not sure, and we're still trying to analyze what the impact of the church would be on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights, which is the typical use. But as the church grows, Community Church being an example, or the St. Helens being another example. You don't know what other activities they will be taking on, and they're sort of boxing themselves in, into a relatively, because then they go into residential
Right.
if they try to start expanding there.
Parking is a problem on the beach anyway.
Parking is a major problem. And as a matter of fact, we're dealing with that through some P&Z issues, and I have met with several with the Chamber of Commerce. Thursday morning, I meet with the Oceanside Business Association, and we sort of go over that. One of the issues that we really have that makes this year stand out is our summer activities have been greater, and the number of visitors this year. And people are now seeing most of the parking spaces filled up through the summer, and the perception is when the season comes, assuming the season is bloats like it has always, then the demand for parking is even going to be greater. And there is a concern that if it really gets totally congested on Ocean Drive and in the vicinity of that area, then if it starts going back into the residential areas, then we're going to have some real serious concerns. And so they've talked about if they had some type of trolley. Supposedly there was a trolley years ago that people remember, and there was and you could put people, for example, have employees park at Riverside Park or something like that. But there doesn't seem to be a real appetite for somebody funding that type of activity. So I'm not sure how that will to work out. But the church is the latest of the issues, and that was one of the reasons we had the zoning change that allows for the sale of alcohol within the 500 feet of churches, because we're now seeing churches crop up in shopping centers and everywhere else, so it's not an unusual phenomenon. This just happened to be a major one down there where a lot of restaurants are located.
Okay. Thank you.
But we will be keeping an eye on the parking and trying to make sure that there's adequate. And I think that's the reason they're out trying to get these contracts.
All right, Judy.
Yes, this might reference you more. Over the week, we've had a tragedy at McDonald's,
Yes.
but there was like a hero there, a veteran that tried to save the man's life. Is there a way we can recognize for what he tried to do?
We can try to do that. Let me see if we can get the police department to.
Because he really did try. You mean try and get David?
Yeah.
'Cause
And
he really did try.
yeah, and there was a lady there as well that she virtually put her hand all the way down in the guy's chest, and it was very unfortunate. Just to let you know some of the things that we're doing in response to that. Police department's gone out, and virtually every business now has signed a waiver that gives us right of access where for trespassing and that type of stuff on private property, which gives us a lot more flexibility when people start migrating and moving around. At one time, people were a little concerned about that because if you pick the wrong person up and happens to be one of their clients or patrons, then it's not a good.
There was an article about the guy that really tried to save his life with everything and pressure on his heart. But he was a veteran, and it brought a lot of nightmare back to him. But he went on and tried to save this gentleman's life.
Yeah.
We have similar problems over on 14th Ave.
We do, in the alleyways especially, and I have talked to some of the folks that are on the Main Street Board, and I think that we've solved some of those by making folks move on. Amelia's mother had a real collection of folks back behind her place, and I know we did that, and I think Vicki Gould had voiced some concerns. So
Yeah, there was a murder on 14th Avenue. I don't know how many years ago. It's been 6 or 7 years ago. A shop girl was murdered by a homeless guy. In
the corner
in the same
convenience store.
Yeah, in the same way with a knife.
Right across from the community center.
And you never know. You never know if you're being paranoid or if you should really be concerned. And it's an uncomfortable feeling.
Well, it is a very uncomfortable feeling, but I think as the police department would tell you, we just need to be aware of what's around us, and you can't take anything for granted. There's no question that homeless people are going to be here. I mean, we can round them all up, and you can only keep them for 24 hours. We do, if we find folks, we do try to Baker Act. But again, in this country, you can't incarcerate someone for that type of illness. And so we have those challenges that we do, but the police department's really making a concerted effort to make people move on. But it seems like homelessness is everywhere in every community, especially in the warm climates. And they tell me out behind Walmart is probably just like a community out there. So it's in the wooded area. They've even cut little trails and paths and that kind of stuff. So
Patty and Rob had a regular sleeper on the bench right outside his office a couple
we used
years
to do
ago.
that. Yeah.
well, that was the other thing. We had the issue where we thought was a sexual assault. The lady did not want to press any charges, but two guys and she were engaged at the park downtown in Pocahontas Park. And so we got the chamber and also Heritage Center to sign to allow police to make people move on there. And so whenever we get a call, we now dispatch a unit down there to have folks go. But they tell me back when the Go Line bus was there, it was even worse than it is today, that they would really congregate at that point. But you're right, both downtowns have issues.
Bobby?
I'd just like to say I attended the lifeguards poker stroll, and they had a really good crowd. They did a really good job. I think they do a real good job of fundraising to buy their equipment. And all the lifeguards were out there and greeting people, and I think it's good PR for for our department to see that.
Yep, and our key is we have to make sure that we always say that they are a 501c3, that group. But I did go to the skim board, and that was a really nice crowd and a nice event too. Very popular.
Yeah.
Angie?
I got it. I'm good. Y'all have covered
You're
everything.
going to be quiet, huh?
I'm quiet today. I'm good.
Lynn?
I just have a couple of things. Special Olympics, Indian River County had 10 spots to go to state, and Vero Beach Leisure Square Pool got 8 of those spots, which is really great. So 8 of our athletes are going to the state tournament, which is in October. Have you decided if the pool's going to be resurfaced?
Pool resurfacing we have to have done before 2016.
So you have to do it next year.
Not next year. We have one more year after that.
Oh, you got the whole year.
Pool resurface is not until 16, and we have that in our 5-year capital.
Okay. And then the only other thing, as we get to the end of the year, I know some of our terms might be up on this committee. I don't know if you know when those are, if you can let all of us know.
Yeah, we have the dates when your term is up, and then usually they're notified by the city clerk's office.
Okay.
Unless something happens with city council and they make changes, but they normally would ask you if you
It
want to
just
be.
Keeps going.
Mhm.
Okay. That's all I have.
Last chance, anybody?
I'm really good. Y'all covered everything I had. I'm good.
Okay, well, without further ado, then we'll just call for adjournment. And I will add, again, on as far as next month goes, unless we really have something come up, and even in November, because typically we run about the same day as the election.
What about all our leases that were hanging loose? Did all of that happen?
Leases.
We don't have any of that to talk about anymore?
You're talking about dog park?
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's really the only
no,
one.
the guy at South Beach and the golf course, and there was a whole bunch of
Well, the golf course is
things.
tied up in the county.
Golf course is tied. South Beach, where Scott is still working with planning and development with his plan. for the beach chairs and umbrellas. The hot dog guy let me know that he no longer is going to do that anymore.
What about the golf hitting thing?
That's what we were talking about with Dodger Town. Right now, as Jim had mentioned before, the course itself is now being discussed for
that purpose?
To be put up for sale.
Right.
No. Well, speaking of the dog park, though, the dog park dedication is November 8th at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. That's it.